how much time / effort should I invest in my test reporting?
It does depend. It depends.
Okay.
I know this is a shocking answer coming from a context-driven tester who's
Right.
right, like balancing risks and needs, and it's just completely unexpected. I would think about both how much time you put into testing, and sort of where you are in the project, and who's going to hear the report. Those are some of the things it might depend on. So if you're at the beginning of the project or product, I guess I've been working on a thing that spent a long time in development and then just got released. So I'm imagining sort of when I first on that team.
Okay.
But before it was available on production, I might spend hours testing at a time, because I'm trying to learn the system and how it works and making sure that I have things set up correctly on my end, or like downloading some of the tools I need. So it may be that I spend a lot of time testing, but then the report is actually just, I got Postman set up, right? Or like I made a get call and I got the authentication going, like all is good. That's not very exciting, but that's probably enough for that report. But yeah, if we're at, I find sort of the moment before a big release is when people are suddenly really interested in test reports. And so you may spend a lot more time reporting than you did testing, right? You might spend 10 minutes testing, but then a lot of time telling the developers how to fix it, telling the people on neighboring teams what you found with their thing, telling the people above sort of what the impact is on a deadline or when you could release it. Right, or a lot of, you probably get a lot of right before a big release, like, okay, you found this thing, we care, but do we care enough? Is it bad enough? Is it on fire or is it just smoldering?
Exactly, yeah.
So being able to, sort of describe the flames really helps people figure out what to do next. So sometimes,
This question makes me wonder, like, does it make the way, what am I trying to say? So this was more of, I would think about this more when the less collaborative the environment, the more I would think about things like this. Because it was like, it just seemed to be more of I need to, like, the report was a very explicit step that I would make. You know, you'd write, you'd come up with your plan or, your strategy, and then you'd write your tests, and then you'd execute the test. It was like, I've got to leave enough time to create my test report was a thing.
I have a counterexample to that, which is I was working on what turned into a hot fix about a week and a half ago. We had released the software before working hours, and then we got into stand up and realized that in some cases the page wasn't loading as we'd expect.
Okay.
I determined after the developers had narrowed down the fix, made a change on the development branch, we deployed it to a place where I could test it. And then I determined that for a small, like very unlikely, possibly zero set of users in production, the page still wouldn't load. But everybody else, it was fine.
Okay.
And then I reported that in a DM with 4 people on Slack. As we're all talking, right? Like we're in the team channel. There are like several separate DMs going. We have lots of different configurations of team channels for like different subsets of people. But I didn't report that when we did decide, like, okay, we need this to be one conversation. Let's draw it into this one Slack. Right. Even though we're all working together and working on the same problem, I didn't then communicate, it's only this, like, maybe one user and probably nobody. What was heard and what I said was, it's still not loading. And so they thought it was the bigger issue rather than the one particular thing, right? And so that's a terrible test report. I did a really bad job.
Yeah. Different message entirely.
And it had nothing to do with the fact that we weren't collaborating, right? Like we weren't on a call all together, but we were, right, like going in different directions and working through things all together simultaneously. In person, we probably would have been around a few computers, but it was working pretty well. And I think the miscommunication probably would have happened in person as well in this case. But yeah, recognizing like when the context switches or your audience, right? My boss had to chime in and be like, wait, so can we release what's happening? What is this a problem? And I was like, oh yeah, okay. This was a different problem, even though the symptom looked so similar. So yes, we can release, it's fine.
Great example. Great example. Thank you very much indeed.